All right. So we'll get started here. I expect some more folks to kind of be joining within the next few minutes here, but we'll go ahead and get started. Just want to say thanks for everyone taking the time to come hang out with us for a little bit this afternoon. My name is Tim Cady. I am one of the co-leads for the North Texas Tableau user group here, working out of the Plano area. A quick introduction to our team if you haven't joined us before. Like I said, we are kind of located when we meet in person in Plano. We meet monthly. We generally stick to Tableau content, but there are times we do talk about kind of tool agnostic data topics. Our team, Joey Ramos, Radical Shift Consulting, myself, with JP Morgan Chase, and Brandi Locker with Allstate. You guys want to jump on and say hi real quick?
Hey guys.
Hey, welcome.
So we are for 2022 looking to add a couple faces to our team. More on that later. If you have interest, either joining our team to kind of help us lead these meetings, or even interest presenting a topic, definitely reach out to us. We'll talk about that and see if we can't get something scheduled for you for sure. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about sort of our plan for 2021, or maybe more appropriately for this time of year, our look back at 2021. Been a pretty busy year. We've had a lot of different topics, a lot of great guests. So for this session, as you may have seen in the agenda already, I'm going to be talking about a slew of different things. We'll get into our guests in just a moment. But we also have some potential in-person meetings coming up. So Joey, do you want to kind of chat about that real quick?
Yeah. So I think, we haven't had an in-person gathering since before the pandemic. And so definitely heading into 2022, we are going to start having our in-person meetings again. But I would like to announce that later this month, November 18th, we will be having an in-person Tableau related networking event. Hopefully we're going to have it in Addison. We haven't found a place yet because we don't know exactly how many people are actually going to show up. So more to come on that. We should be sending out an invite early next week with the location. I do know it's going to be November 18th from 5 to 7.
Yeah, I think our original intention was we were hoping to do this the week of conference, right? So we can all celebrate conference and maybe do sort of a regional data night out for those of you that have been to conference, you know what that's like. Just schedules didn't allow for that to happen. So it'll be exciting to all get together again and see folks in person and have a drink for sure. So let's get into kind of the agenda for today. So if you wouldn't mind hopping over to the next page, we're going to mix it up a little bit. I'm actually going to bump up the product update. We'll cover that first. We'll be taking a look at all the Tableau releases from 2021 and kind of some of the high level new features they've put into the tools. Then we'll be talking with Jared. So Jared is a BI manager at Brinks. I've seen some of his work on Public and it looks pretty great. And I'm excited to kind of chat with him and hear more about his Tableau and his data journey. And then we'll give the floor to Pat and Brandi, who are going to share with us their new book, Maximizing Tableau Server. Do I have that right? Is it Tableau Server and online? Okay, excellent. Kind of share some insights from their new book, which I'm super excited for you all to see. I've gotten to take kind of an initial peek at it, and I'm pumped for this to be released to the general public for sure. And then we'll wrap up the session today with a quick kind of roundtable about Tableau Conference. Of course, virtual again, which is a bummer because I love the in-person conferences, but that is a positive for quite a few folks, right? It lowers the bar for access and it's free, of course. So we'll talk through some things that are coming up next week with conference, what to look out for and what you want to register for. So with that, let's go ahead and, sorry, Joe, I'm going to switch it up on you a little bit. We couldn't, if you wouldn't mind starting with that product update 21.1. So we'll kind of go through this in order of release. And feel free, again, if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, feel free to pop them in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll talk through them as best we can. So for 2021, a lot of the updates for Tableau and their suite of tools was kind of based around or focused around kind of the ecosystem, right? So not necessarily a lot of desktop specific releases this year, but a lot of things concerning, you know, whether it be Prep or Tableau Server or Einstein, as you see here, they focused a lot on those kind of, like I said, the ecosystem of tools. For 2021, right, the big highlight items were, first and foremost, Einstein Discovery. So they've added an extension for Einstein Discovery in Tableau. So if you are a Salesforce customer, that extension is available to you, as easy as kind of going in, dragging and dropping it into your dashboard. For those of you not familiar with Einstein, it is so it's a predictive analytics engine. The real draw, the real sell for it is there's no coding, wizard based. It's all point and click, just like you get on Tableau desktop. It helps you build kind of predictive models for your data, and with those predictive models, suggests how you might be able to improve accuracy of those predictive models. You know, based on that extension, with that extension rather. So that is only available for Salesforce customers to take advantage of. But if you are, there's a ton of value there to leverage. The other item from 2021.1, or two items that I want to kind of highlight here, are the right to Excel for Tableau Prep. I know that was a big one for a lot of folks. Right, so no longer just exporting to servers a TDE or a Hyper, or I think they had, I think there was one other Excel-based option there. I can't remember. It's been a while. CSV, sorry, that's what it was. Now they have the ability to write straight to the Excel format, so that is out there, and that's awesome. That tool is slowly but surely, right, getting kind of up to par with what we were all hoping for when it kind of released a few years back. And then finally, and I'm going to do a quick demo of this, Joey, sorry to spring this on you again, but I'm going to walk through kind of quick LODs, where I see the value with those, how to leverage them, and what some of the current limitations are. So we'll talk about that right now. The intention of the quick LODs is really to make it easier for beginners or newer folks to leverage these. So Joey, if you wouldn't mind opening up maybe just a blank page, just a new sheet. And yeah, that's fine right there. And connected as superstore, perfect. Let's just, well, it looks like I already had one created. So sales region down in our measures there towards the bottom. So that is the product of a quick LOD, but I'll show you how we create something like that. If you wouldn't mind holding control and dragging sales right on top of region or segment or whichever, either one would work. So it's going to create that calculated field immediately for you. And if you right click that, and we can see that it automatically created a fixed calculation for us. So for my money, that's the quickest way to do it. You can also do it by right clicking and navigating through the menu, but I prefer this method, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, so Joey's gonna set up a quick view for us to show that comparison. Yeah, so what that's done now is it's fixed that sales total at the region level. If you wanted to do kind of any inline calculations from here, maybe percent of totals, even though those are quick table calculations, you could do that pretty easily leveraging that quick LOD. Now, one of the drawbacks from my perspective of these quick LODs is it currently only allows you to leverage one dimension, or it did when I was using it rather. You can go in and edit that calculated field to add more dimensions, to add dates, to add other, segments, regions, city states, those sort of things. But that kind of takes away the point of having a quick LOD, having to come in here and manually edit, from my perspective anyway. But that is how to create a quick LOD. That's how to leverage them. I do see some value there, and the bar of entry, so to speak, is a little lower for the new folks who aren't familiar with LODs. It's a little bit easier to create those now. But there is still room to grow in terms of how that's being leveraged and how they're being created. So that is quick LODs. If we want to hop back to 2021.1, perfect. So there aren't a lot of other kind of highlight topics here that we want to chat through. Some additions to web data connectors, SharePoint lists, that sort of thing. We're not going to be able to get into that just because we don't have a server environment to play with on these calls. But if there's specific questions, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn or after the call. We can definitely talk through them. If you wouldn't mind hopping over, Joey, to the next one. 2021.2. So this is our second quarter release of Tableau. Again, here are all the updates. A couple of the ones that kind of stuck out to me was right off the bat, the ask data and explain data available to viewers. So I think that's big. Previously, I think it's only available to explorers previous to this update. The reason I think that's important is because viewer is a less expensive license type for starters, right? So you're saving some money there, but it gives those viewers, those user types, access to some pretty powerful tools. So we won't be able to demo ask data on this call because, again, we're not leveraging a server. But those of you that are not familiar, ask data is essentially Google, right, for your data sources. Someone could go in there and type in some plain text questions, and ask data would provide a data visualization on the fly for them to take a look at. What we can do, however, is take a real quick look at explain data. I don't know that we've ever covered that in any of our North Texas sessions. So I'm going to ask Joey to create one more sheet. And yeah, this one's fine. Maybe use, let's pull in city as create a map for us real quick. Just double click that guy. And let's put profit on color. Maybe that was a bad one to use. This will be fine. So if we can right click any of those marks that are on the page now. And let's go up to explain data, third from the top. So what this is going to give us is an explanation of what our mark is, what it's doing, kind of how it compares to the data source at large. This is a real, obviously, simple visualization, so there's not a lot of explanation needed. But in some of your more complex vises, you would get much more information here popping up on the right-hand side of the screen. I think that's a great win for the viewers out there that are leveraging this tool or this feature. Personally, I've seen it's hard to get this adopted, to be completely honest, and that's something that I've always continued to push this in Ask Data. I think there's a lot of value in our end users leveraging these tools, especially when it comes to self-service analytics. So if there's an appetite for it, we might be focusing more on these types of tools in the future in 2022. But for now, I just wanted to show that this was available specifically for users. You can see as Joey kind of scrolls through some of the options here on explain data.
So hey, Tim, let me ask you a question. This is great.
Absolutely.
This is the first time I've seen this. So is this for desktop only? I'm sorry, did you say it's also, is this a server?
So yeah, absolutely. It is available on server. So folks who have just viewer licenses only, That's the only access they're going to have is server. So they can come in here now, interact with something that's on Tableau Server, click, explain data, and it would give them the same pop-up. The experience as a whole might be slightly different because, of course, it's server versus desktop, but conceptually, they're provided all the same information.
Oh, this is pretty cool, though.
Yeah,
so
a lot of value here. Like I mentioned, a lot of value, especially when it comes to self-service folks. It's largely going to depend on the data literacy of your organization as a whole. But yeah, that's, we could go down a rabbit hole with this sort of stuff. But if there's an appetite for it, like I said, this is something we can focus on in a future session, definitely.
Yeah. No, I just think it's pretty cool, though, because it's telling me I have 747 records, but 4 extreme value. And then
were those the outliers there? Yeah, at the top. That's what it's highlighting there. Absolutely.
And then if I click this, it tells me the profit and, I guess the actual details, underlying details of that record, which is cool. Oh, I like this. Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind, can we shift back to, our product update page? One other call out that I want to make here, and I'm trying to find it on the page. Don't see it right offhand. Maybe I'm missing it. In this update, Tableau Server also got collections. I don't know why I don't see it here, but essentially what collections are is, think of it as a series of subfolders on Tableau Server. Any common content can be grouped into these collections, regardless of what project they're in, regardless of what data source they're leveraging. This gives you a place to put any, like I said, common content, things that share a similar purpose into one area, and and to leverage those, or make it easier to access those rather, for your server users. So that was also introduced in 0.2. And finally, we can hop over, hop over to 0.3. Perfect. Just want to make sure I didn't get my versions mixed up. And again, this was, like I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of focus on kind of the overall Tableau ecosystem here. So no real high level items from my perspective to call out on this page. You know what, Joey, if you wouldn't mind if I share my screen real quick, actually. I think I have something queued up that we can take a look at. So in the 2020.3 updates, like I said, and like you may have seen on that slide just a moment ago, a lot of changes to, or a lot of focus on data management updates. The other big one, and I don't use Slack as much as I used to, but because Slack is now a Salesforce product, there's been a focus on integrating Tableau into the Slack space. As you can see from the demo there, they're sharing dashboards through Slack. There's some interactivity available as well. And then finally, in 2021.3, we now, or you should have the ability on Tableau Server to publish to a personal space. This is going to be specific to your credentials on server. So you see here that this exists outside of pre-existing projects or any sort of access that you have on server already. So you can go ahead and take back the screen, Joey. I just wanted to share that real quickly. And that pretty much wraps up some of our product updates. Joey or Brandi, do you guys have anything that you wanted to highlight here or touch on?
No, I don't. This is I don't have any exposure to 2021.2 or point 3, so I really appreciate you putting this together.
Yep, same. Awesome job, Tim.
Yeah, and a lot of organizations tend to have, whether it's a year or, half a year lag into their updates. So I don't expect a lot of you to maybe have this ability already, but it's always good to know kind of what's coming down the road for sure. So with that, what we'll do is next up on our agenda is our community spotlight. So let me get a drink of water here. Sorry about that, Jared. All right. So for this month's community spotlight, we have Jared Flores, BI manager at Brinks. Like I mentioned earlier, I've seen some of Jared's work through Tableau Public, through Twitter. Really excited about some of the stuff he's creating and some of the projects he's kind of taken on. So welcome, Jared. Do you kind of want to start out giving folks a quick introduction?
Yeah, so my name's Jared Flores. Currently BI manager at Brinks Home Security, formerly in a world of operations and inventory management over at IBM Cloud. So came from data center background, and the operations of that sort of turned into a data role and a data career that I'm definitely passionate about and I love. But yeah, that's just the real short and sweet version of it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. So let's talk about, I'd love to hear more about your kind of journey with Tableau. So were you introduced to Tableau recently, or have you been using it for a while?
So this is somewhere around year 5, 6.
Okay.
But it really started. So when I was at IBM, initially I worked in the warehouse as an inventory worker. So receiving the pallets of data center equipment and then shipping them back out. And at the time, the process was like scan stuff into Excel and then copy it from Excel into our source system. And that was just kind of what we did. And so doing that every single day and working in Excel every single day, I started learning how to automate some of the processes, started learning some VBA, and then after a while, we needed some inventory optimization tools, but the company wasn't really willing to invest in anything third party. And so started building out something using a combination of at first it was built in Excel using nothing but like VBA. And then I switched it over to Access and built it out so that way it could start capturing the back-end reporting of like who was doing the scanning, how did that line up with our current stocking levels. And because of that, I started sort of extracting those reports and trying to find ways to make use of them. So that's how I started looking into BI tools and looking into Tableau. And then once I started using Tableau, I started using it for everything. And eventually I had worked my way up into a managing position, managing data centers all across North America. And so Tableau became my best friend in helping me manage the teams and stuff. But after a certain point, I spent so much time in Tableau that I realized this is what I want to do.
Interesting. So would it be fair to say kind of the kind of gateway to Tableau was a need for automation?
Yeah.
So that was part of my journey as well, is looking for ways to make things cleaner, quicker, more efficient. So definitely relate to that. So from what I understand, you're using the whole suite of tools from Tableau, which is not common. I know a lot of folks out there use Alteryx in place of kind of Tableau Prep. So could you talk about kind of your experience, with Prep, with that data engineering piece as it relates to your work in Tableau?
Yeah. So for us, Tableau Prep, ever since it's had the ability to connect to the published data sources, it's been such a huge win for us because our traditional data process our curated sources end up as published sources, which when you're trying to work with those in desktop can be difficult to manipulate if you need to add new fields in. So yeah, being able to connect to multiple published sources and join in information and get a cleaner output for what I need to do in a specific dashboard, it's so useful. And we also use TableauOnline, so we do have access to the latest versions as they come out. And so even like this latest update with the improvements to data management has been extremely useful to us. I mean, we leverage the whole data management and the Tableau catalog, the data quality warnings, using the metadata API to document and get the metadata descriptions. So yeah, I think prep has been extremely useful, and we do use Alteryx too, but it's just, you know, they each have sort of their own uses, and I think prep really caters more to Tableau. You know, it's just, it fits in the environment really nicely, and you can sort of schedule and monitor things all in the same place. So it's been definitely useful to be able to utilize all of the different products.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to hear that you're using data management and data catalog. I guess I didn't know that. Can you talk about a little bit about how you're leveraging that, what your experience there as well?
Yeah, and so I mean, I think originally we started using it primarily because of Tableau Bridge, which I think at one point you had to have data management for, but now you don't. But yeah, our source system is on an on-premise SQL server. And since we're using TableauOnline, Tableau Bridge is really the only way to get the refreshes or the extracts on a refresh schedule. And so what I noticed, we had this big project a couple months ago, and I noticed that, you know, we were paying for the add-on, but weren't really utilizing any of the features of it. Like we weren't utilizing Prep Conductor at the time. We weren't utilizing the descriptions at the time. So what we've done is we had these like Word documents that had the descriptions of our data sources and all of the fields within them. And so we've been able to leverage the metadata API to kind of merge those descriptions and really start to document and tag, like for each data source, tag what it's related to, document out all the fields, which has really allowed us to then, for like our analysts, when they're connecting to Tableau Server from desktop, to really just quickly and easily be able to find the trusted data sources, but also be able to search by like keywords instead of just having to have that common knowledge of these are the data sources that contain this information, right? I mean, some of that they do still have to kind of go and look and confirm on TableauOnline, but still there's that external assets tab, which I don't know if you've seen much about the catalog, but there's, whenever you have data management, you get a new tab in your Tableau site, and it's called external assets. And it allows you to see every single table, database, and file that's been published to your server. And then what you can, from there, you can trace the lineage of everything. So if I go to a dashboard, I can trace back through its lineage what, if it's connected to a flow, which flow is feeding it, and then which data sources are feeding that prep flow, and then ultimately which databases are feeding those data sources. So you can trace everything back. And also what we use it for is for like change management. If our data engineers are going to, you know, change the naming convention of a column, or maybe remove column or add columns, it allows you to see and do a quick impact analysis, like what is this change going to affect, how many dashboards is it going to affect, and who are the owners of those dashboards that I need to go and notify. So it's something that we leverage pretty heavily, and we're also still like in the journey of fully building it out to where it's nice, it's fleshed out, and everything is you know, being used to its maximum potential.
Interesting. So the data management, you know, and cataloging, that's one piece of kind of the Tableau ecosystem I personally haven't gotten to use. So I might pick your brain more on that in the future. That's really interesting to me. I know, you know, some of our conversations, and I want to get into your public profile here in a minute, but one last question I want to run by you is, some of our conversations one-on-one, we've talked about, self-service, right, for end users, and that seems to be a hot button topic with a lot of different organizations. So could you talk a little bit about kind of what that path looks like at Brinks, kind of your progress, what you see as an obstacle, or maybe some of the wins you've had?
Yeah, and I think honestly, as you explained with like the ask data and explain data, that was huge for us because that really does allow all of our end users to start interacting with the data at a more granular level, and the AI or machine learning behind those processes doesn't always get it right. Sometimes it includes some irrelevant information, but it at least has gotten our dashboards to a point where users, when they see information and it prompts that next question of, well, why is the number like this? It tries to give them those steps to answer that question themselves without having to request an entirely new report to answer that specific question. And so I think really the path to self-service is it's organizations making it a point and a priority to make sure that there's data fluency, right? And that the stakeholders understand what the data process looks like, but then really how to leverage it. Like Tableau is a powerful tool, but whatever tool that they're using, Power BI, ClickSense, they're all powerful tools. But if there's no importance or motivation to learn how to really leverage them, it's hard to get to the point of self-service because it's really just about the end user understanding. Like for Tableau, ask data, explain data, those are really powerful. But then there's things that you can sort of integrate into your dashboards to be more dynamic for that self-service piece. So I think it's really just a matter of all of the stakeholders and the end users that are utilizing those dashboards. They need to be taught how to use them, and most organizations aren't putting the pressure there.
That's interesting. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be an uncommon trend, right? Is having the tools and the ability is one thing, but the teaching and the enabling is another. So interesting. So one of the things that kind of caught my eye, Jared, I've seen your work on, put prep in your step that you're doing on you're sharing that on Twitter. Those are, correct me if I'm wrong, use cases through prep. It's kind of like a community project thing.
Yeah, it's like a combination. Some videos I'm doing like a specific use case where I've kind of had a challenge presented at work that I worked through in prep and kind of going through that. And then some of them are just general, how to use some of the functions within it.
So if someone wanted to kind of join in and participate with you and kind of upskill their Tableau prep game, where could they go to kind of follow along?
So I do have my YouTube channel, put some prep in your step. The channel itself is called What the Viz. But then also a lot of what I've been doing lately for practice is prep and data, the community challenge, put together by Carl Chin. And it's got a few other contributors now. So lately, I think this is day 27. I challenged myself to 100 days of prep and data. And I'm trying to get through all of the challenges by the end of it. And there's a lot of interesting scenarios there as well. But I've also started using prep just for personal projects. So that's one way you can really try to leverage your data cleansing before you get it to desktop. And I've found, like with the Dallas Stars viz you have there, I've found that when I spend time with it in prep, that by the time I actually get it on the page in the dashboard, I already know what I want to do with it.
Yeah, that was actually going to be one of my next questions is, by doing these community projects, do you found like you've maybe found easier ways in your work life to come to solutions, to find, ways to solve problems, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I've definitely noticed, like when I first started using prep, I had these crazy complicated workflows. And then after going through and spending time with it and then doing a lot of the challenges, I've revisited some and realized there's much simpler ways to do things.
Yeah. And you're focused on Tableau prep, but I know there's Alteryx challenges out there similar to kind of what's happening with Tableau Prep. So that's for those of you out there that are interested in that sort of thing. That's available regardless of what tool you use. But Joey, if you wouldn't mind clicking on Jared's public profile there, I did want to take a look at some of his visits that he has out there in his profile. Now, of course, the most popular one, right, is your Mike Madonna viz, and I've kind of heard you on Zach's podcast talk about that a little bit. You want to kind of take us through that one and kind of what you enjoyed about it, maybe some of the obstacles you faced?
Yeah, so this one was one I've wanted to do a Madonna or Dallas Stars viz for quite some time, but what I wanted to make sure I did it right. I've been a Stars fan my whole life, and so I really wanted to make sure that my design was there. And for a long time, I felt like it wasn't. But with this one, I knew I wanted the central piece to be the horizontal timeline, and I also knew that I wanted to really highlight the importance of the Stanley Cup year. And so the timeline itself was challenging because I had to kind of look at the stats for each season, which also I had to like pull off of like hockeyreference.com and pull the stats for each season and then compile it all into one big sheet. But yeah, then for each of those years, I kind of had to do a bunch of background research and try to figure out what's something that stood out in each of these points in time. For the actual playoff bracket there, I challenged myself to go back and pull the logos from the 1998-1999 season. Some of them are the same, some of them are a little bit different. And also the conference imagery is from the same season.
So sorry to interrupt, but the visual itself, right? I would imagine this is, a Sankey that you maybe a Sankey template that you leveraged.
Yeah, so it was, I know Tuan had originally done one with like the Champions League bracket that was pretty similar to this. And so it was that same template and then just modifying it for this use.
Got it.
I had to sort of change some of the orders too, because if you notice, there's a little note down there that says the teams reseeded after the first round. So I had to kind of play with the data to make sure that they still lined it up in the flow correctly.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, I mean, this one, I think really what made it all come together and the design of it was the title itself. I took the Dallas Stars logo and I removed the Dallas from it. And then that sort of gave me that star. And so once I made that title, the color scheme and the rest of it just kind of came together.
That was your kind of a trigger for inspiration, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the other one that really caught my eye on your profile was Joe, if you wouldn't mind hopping back to his profile there, was the superstore one that I had on our slide deck. And I thought that was kind of wild.
If you scroll down a bit, it's like Superstore, Sankey.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this one I was just kind of having some fun with. I love playing with the Superstore data set, and I had seen a bunch of these circular Sankeys, and I was just like, I wonder if I can do something with it. And I had also been kind of leveraging these sort of KPI cards that you see in the middle with the map layers. And so, yeah, I just wanted to kind of see if I could actually get it to come out right and then put some set actions in there to kind of change based on which circle you click, which would also in turn change the KPI card in the middle. But yeah, I was just seeing if it was something I could actually achieve.
So the circles there, if I remember correctly, are different product types. Is that right? And
Yeah.
clicking those.
Yeah, they're the different subcategories. So if you click one, it highlights all of the products within that subcategory, and then the middle changes to the actual year over year for that subcategory.
Yeah, it just speaks to what's possible within Tableau, all the kind of things we can do. Leveraging. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all just math, right? And it's just points plotted on the screen. So this is really interesting. definitely caught my eye, and I just definitely wanted to touch on it during our chat.
Yeah.
All right, so what I'll do next is I'll cue it up to Joey or Brandi. Do you guys have any questions for Jared? Anything in your profile, or in his profile rather, that caught your eyes?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. No, I appreciate Jared, you taking the time to to share your profile with us. It's very interesting.
Yeah, no problem. Glad
Yeah, same.
to be able to.
Yeah, no questions over here. It was really great having you come on here, Jared. And I know that we've just really seen your presence escalate in the community in a really great way, and you've been helping out a lot of people. So we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks.
Absolutely, yeah. We're very fortunate to have Jared in DFW for sure. So for those of you out there kind of interested in some of the things Jared talked about, whether it's the Tableau prep, Jared, do you want to do one last plug for the YouTube?
Yeah, like I said, the YouTube channel is called What the Viz. The series that I'm doing right now is Put Some Prep in Your Step. And so every Wednesday, I'm releasing a new video on either how to use a specific feature within prep or how to work through a specific use case. And so just come check it out. I'm keeping on every week. I'll maybe eventually expand to desktop stuff, but I think the real need right now is for some prep stuff. So I'm going to stay with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jared.
Yep. Thanks.
Very cool. So Brandi, I didn't know if you wanted to share your screen or if you want me to jump back to our workbook.
Hey, I'll just steal it. I'll take it.
All right.
Yeah, just kind of set the stage. So up next on our agenda is Pat and Brandi, and they are going to talk about a new book they've kind of authored together. I'm super excited about kind of sharing this with the community. So Brandi, whenever you're ready to take it away.
All right. I'm having a little monitor glitch at the moment, but I'll be ready in just a second. Let's hope this one works out all right. Let me know when y'all can see it, please.
Gotcha.
All right, awesome. All right, so hey everybody, Pat Sarsfield, and I are excited to announce the launch of our new book, Maximizing Tableau Server. Just released last week. Ebook came out first, and actually the print's already available. So it's really exciting. If you want to get a paperback copy, then it's ready to go. But basically, we wrote this book. It's meant to be a guide for beginner developers, analysts, users. And I know that I'll kind of go ahead and bleed into an intro briefly about myself because you guys already know me. But I know when I started my job as a Tableau developer, I got a ton of training on how to use Tableau Desktop, but not really any thoughts on, there wasn't a lot of instruction on how to use Tableau Server. And so it came down to this, okay, you're ready to publish. And then I'm like, oh, how do I publish? Where do I publish it? What is this? And so learning Tableau Server became kind of an adventure. So this book's meant to kind of address that next step for pretty much anybody, really. More advanced users can hopefully get some nuggets out of here, but the primary target should definitely going to help out, beginners, developers, analysts, users, even, even if you got managers in the company or something that kind of need help navigating Tableau Server, this should definitely help them out as well. Pat, do you want to jump in and tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I feel like so many people's, thanks, Brandi. Sorry, it's well great to be back. First of all, I think it's been about a year or so. I feel like so many people's first introduction to Tableau, like as an end user, is through TableauOnline or Tableau Server. They receive a hyperlink, and they click on it, and that's all they know. They're like, oh, this is a dashboard, I guess. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. And so a lot of people will, hopefully, many people will go further after that, but there's not really much explanation to Tableau Server or TableauOnline. And that's largely because it's pretty intuitive, so you can figure a lot of it out. But there are so many cool features and a lot of things that we didn't even realize until I was joking that we were basically paid to research it. We probably would figure out the answers to our questions that we need to solve, but here we had to really take a deep dive into basically everything that Tableau Server could do. And so there were some times where I thought I think about 80% of the time, things functioned as I thought they would. It's relatively straightforward. And then maybe 20-25% of the time, things were different than I thought. I was like, oh, I'm glad I took the time to research this, because I would have assumed something slightly different would happen. But yeah, you asked me about myself, sorry. When we last talked, Brandi and I were working together at the same company. And so I've since transitioned to work at Lovelytics. And actually, one of the things we'll do after we go over some of these slides on the story here that Brandi's showing in Tableau Public is we'll jump into a Lovelytics site that a demo site that I have on server, and we can present some real world, hopefully relatively quick Tableau server, let's say leveraging Tableau server in the best way possible to hopefully maximize your efficiency and maybe drive additional insights and at the very least save you some time.
Definitely. And I'm going to real briefly jump to the agenda slide. So we're going to go over a quick view at some of the just little nuggets in the book. So I'll talk briefly about favorites, custom views, subscriptions. Pat's going to show you some really great features with search operators and attributes. And then we'll touch on tags, and if we've got time, maybe take a brief look at the filtered search pane, which is really handy. And at the end, we'll actually be giving away a few free ebook copies. And so you'll definitely want to stay online for that. Need to be present to win. So hang with us for a little while. Pat, would you like to walk them through kind of why this is important and why it matters?
Yeah, it's kind of what we were talking about before. It's like, why does it really matter, right? It's like, well, for the majority of end users, right, a Tableau Server and TableauOnline really is the first introduction they have to seeing like, oh, this is data visualization, this is real analytics, and probably most importantly, this is real report automation. So depending on where you work, there may still be a lot, and this is probably most, especially legacy organizations, there may be a lot of people still working something like Excel, and that may be a lot of their job. And so actually being able to see, hey, wait a second, if I can do this one time in Tableau Desktop, or a developer can create this one time in Tableau Desktop for me, and then they can automate that report and run it whatever cadence they want, let's say weekly, monthly, whatever it is. I no longer have to do that anymore. So now as an analyst, you can say, wait, my job is actually to analyze data. It's not to, copy and paste data every week, every month, and not add that much value. You can actually dig into the data and actually analyze the data instead of copy and paste. So I think that the large piece of this is really what Brandi was saying is like, once you build something in desktop, the next step is really saying, what next? Right? You don't even necessarily know. It's like the next step is really putting it up on Tableau Server, TableauOnline, and automating it so that you, or whoever it is, all these end users don't really have to ever do this again, and they can just reap the benefits of your work. The other piece is really understanding how to, this book, knowing how to manage content, knowing how to automate tasks. And really, the important one, I think, is some of the stuff Brandi's going to go over today, is increasing and driving more user engagement. I mean, this is big in any organization. So if you tell your boss, hey, I made this great dashboard, it's like, it's great, but how are you going to get people to use it? The truth is, there's a few ways that are really simple and really straightforward that you can ultimately drive a lot more user engagement, because it's going to be hard for people to ignore it. And that's, I think, a lot of what Brandi will go over today. And then just lastly, if you have competent developers, let's say even semi-talented, they're really being introduced to creating good charts, like real learning graphicacy. Super important. And by doing that, you're introducing other people within your organization to best practices. And what you often sometimes find is that a lot of people buck best practices. It's not on purpose, not intentionally. They just don't know them. And so by creating something good, let's say on your office's Tableau Server or TableauOnline, people will see it and they might not know, they might have the right words, but let's say, well, I want what Brandi created. Make this chart, make it look like this, right? And they can just point to it instead of, again, even if they're not armed with the exact words they need, they have a reference now. And then they can take that and they can say, well, that doesn't look that hard. Maybe I can click on this edit button and go to web edits, and they can begin exploring themselves. And from there, maybe a smaller segment will actually request Tableau desktop licenses and go on to actually become developers themselves. So you can actually see how it could, drive people towards more data visualization and more report automation. Because this is really a jumping off point for a lot of people.
Yep, exactly. I'm actually going to let Pat take over the screen now. Pat, if you want to share the server site, we can jump right into it.
Yeah. Let me pull it up here. Let me say thank you to Scott Love for letting me demo the Lovelytics site here. And Brandi, I will just let you You just tell me what to do.
All right, sounds good. All right, so first things first, this is the home page. This is what Pat sees. Your custom homepage will look different just based on your, your server's site setup, and then just whatever dashboards and content you guys have on your server. But this is kind of like a general look. And then if you look on the far left, there's what we call the navigation pane, where you can see home, favorites, recents, shared with me, etc. That's just kind of like your navigation point as you go throughout the server. So we're going to jump to favorites real quick. Pat, if you'll click on that for me. Thank you. Oh, you don't have any favorites. All right.
I can change
So
that.
yeah, so this is, it was kind of funny. I'd been using Server for about a year, and then I was watching Pat show me some things when he was kind of mentoring me, and then he clicked on his favorites, and I was like, wait, what in the world is favorites? And it was just so simple, but I just never even bothered to click on to find out what you could do with it. So Pat, if you just want to navigate to any dashboard that you've got on the server.
Yeah, we favorite a few things here.
Yeah, so by favoriting, you just click on that little star that you see, and it's kind of in various places, but normally kind of around the thumbnail of whatever dashboard, and then you can just click that star. It'll add
You
it to
also
your
find it on
favorites.
the.
Yep. Yeah, you'll see that toggle on the right. You can toggle between grid view and list view, which is really handy because list view usually gives you a little bit more detail, but grid view is nice if you're more of a visually oriented person. And so now that he's marked those as favorites, you can see them on his favorite page. And so this is a great way. It's kind of like having your own bookmarks, like you would on your browser. This is kind of a similar concept. So it's definitely handy. I use it all the time now, and it's kind of an unloved and untalked about feature that's a pretty quick and easy one to start using and save yourself some time. Beyond that, we're going to move to custom views. So this is a good one. We kind of talked, the groups talked a little bit about self-service and getting user engagement, things like that. So when you're in a dashboard and you're looking at it, generally whenever you open a dashboard, it's going to default to however it was published on the server. But, if I'm, let's see, we're looking at hospitality dashboard. So if I'm the manager of a certain region, Pat, if you just want to select a random region for me from that dropdown. Yeah, so let's say I'm manager of North American region at my company. I don't necessarily want to have to do this filter every single time I interact with this dashboard. I might be looking at it every day or multiple times a day even. So a great way to get around that is you can make your filter selections, interact with the dashboard as much as you want, and then click on that on that toolbar where Pat was just hovering a second ago. It's kind of, there's the dark toolbar at the very top and then that lighter gray toolbar. You'll see the view. You can click on that. It said view original to begin with, excuse me. If you click on it, you can actually save these filters that you just clicked on and these settings that you established, and you can make this your own custom view. And so you can give it a unique name. You can even choose to make this view your default view. So that's what will open every time you click on that dashboard. And you can also make it visible to others, or you can, you can check that if you want to share it, and you can leave it unchecked if you want to keep it private. But when you hit save, you're ready to go. And then, so now you'll notice that that toolbar says View North America Hospital, the name we just gave it. So that tells you that you're on your custom view. And you can always just click that again and kind of toggle back and forth and change whatever view you're looking at. You can save multiple custom views for a dashboard and just however you really want it to be.
Now, if I go back in here, it should open up to my custom view because that's how I saved it, right?
Exactly. Yep. So that's your default view. So then it'll automatically open that way. So that's a great way to save people some time. If they just don't want to have to go through an organizational hierarchy every single time they click on a dashboard, that one's a great time saver. Let's see. Next up, let's talk about subscriptions. This is a really awesome feature. Just a little bit further out on the toolbar where Pat's showing you now. If you click on subscribe, you can, if you just want it for yourself, you can just click that little subscribe me checkbox, or you can start typing your name. There you go. And then it'll add, you can subscribe other people. So, if you're working on a project for some clients, maybe there's like a handful of stakeholders that need this subscription, you can set it all up for them, or they can do this themselves, even better, right? But yeah, you can choose to have them subscribe to just the one view that you're looking at or the entire workbook. They can choose a format, image, PDF. You can rename, yeah, you can do both. You can adjust some sizing if you want, and then you can give it, a name that's going to be, I believe, the name that appears in the subject of the email. And so basically the subscription it'll just automatically, the server will send whatever you selected, image, PDF, or both, of this dashboard or this view to the subscribed user's inbox. And so that's a really awesome way. If you've got, oh, actually, it's kind of funny. Only a few weeks ago, I was talking to someone who was given the task to every day go online on TableauServer to this dashboard, download it, and send it to a bunch of managers in a particular area. And I'm just like, what are you guys doing? There's subscriptions. And so a lot of people just don't know it's there. Sometimes you're just looking for exactly what you're trying to find and you don't look at what else is kind of around you. So these great features are integrated in the server. And so as long as the server's up and running, they're going to get their subscription. I think you can even do some settings like on, if it's, maybe if there's an error in the data, maybe it doesn't send or something like that. But yeah, and then you can actually, Pat, do you want to go to your subscriptions? So if you click on your user page, there you go. He's got a subscription now. So this is where you can manage all of your subscriptions, see the frequency. You can just go straight to the dashboard if you want, or you can unsubscribe yourself, just whatever you want to do. So that's a really great feature. And just like Pat just demoed here, we made a custom view first, and then we made a subscription to it. And so you can actually integrate these features together, and so that it makes a really nice customized experience for your end user, for yourself, if you're an analyst, or even developers, just kind of like track your content and make sure everything's updating appropriately. So these are awesome features to take advantage of. We hope that more people will start using them. And then I'm going to hand it over to Pat, and he'll walk you through some additional ones that are just really, really excellent.
Cool. Thanks, Brandi. And one of the things we did here is we subscribed just to myself and Brandi, but that's because this is just a demo site. Realistically, what we probably would have done is actually subscribe it to a group, right, instead of an individual person, and just to save the work. So if Brandi were to leave the company, no big deal. Oh, that'd be kind of a pain, right? I have to figure out where to send it next. But if I subscribe to a group, an entire team, let's say, it doesn't matter who comes in and out of that team as long as someone is updating that group. And so I don't really have to worry about it. And so the more you can utilize groups instead of individuals, probably the better. So that's for demo purposes. Unfortunately, it's just the two of us. But if I was using an actual Tableau server, I'd almost always try to do it at the group level. All right, so what you're looking at here is my my instance of Tableau Server here. So you actually see that Tableau Server is a multi-tenant, has a multi-tenant structure, and that just means that it's one instance of server, Tableau Server, but it can have multiple sites within it. And so you see that I have actually access to two. I have my demo site and the actual Lovelytics server site. And many people actually may only have access to one, so you may not even know that there are many sites actually behind the scenes. That it's just because of your lack of access. But if you do see this drop down, that is just because you have access to more than just one. We can also hide this. That's another fun feature to save some space. So what I'm going to talk about today really is going to be largely around kind of the opposite of what Brandi was talking about. So Brandi was showing if you had gained access to a workbook or a dashboard, let's say, and you're exploring what's going on and you're trying to set it up and make it created in a way so that you can find exactly what you need when you need it. You can have it delivered, like she said, dropped right to your email. But what if your manager, and this is not an uncommon scenario, said, hey, there's a dashboard out there I think the finance team made. It's I don't know, it's annual, it's quarterly annual profits or something like that. And you're like, okay, that's great. So you don't really know the name. It may be on Tableau Server. And you want me to somehow find it and then see if I can gain access to it or utilize it to find some insights. But it's kind of just this broad thing. Yeah, they presented on a meeting. I think it might find helpful. Why don't you go find it? Well, that's great if you have a very small company and you only have, like, let's say in this example here, I'm going to open this back up again. It's like mine, where it's a very small. I'm going to explore here to show you. I only have 7 workbooks and 13 views. It's hardly anything. But you probably would have an order of magnitude more than that in any good organization that's really utilizing, has fronted the money for Tableau Server and paid all this money out for desktop licenses. So realistically, you're going to be looking at hundreds of views, maybe thousands of views, and probably hundreds of dashboards or workbooks. So as a result, when you have this very broad search, you're going to need to know what you're actually looking for. So there's 2 ways to search. You have the quick search up here, which is pretty much just a search box, just like Google. So it just searches the entire site that you're on using the query that you put in and just finds any items that come back. You also have a little bit, this is more refined over here with this little filter icon, and that's just a filtered search. And so again, you have the same search box, this text box here, but you also have a bunch of different drop downs. And depending on what you're looking at, you actually may have different drop downs. So you see here, I have tag available because I'm looking at all views up here. So I'll have a handful of tags available that I've created. But if I go, let's say, to a project level, you'll see that the amount of filters I have available has been reduced significantly. It's about half. And the option I just showed you, tag, is no longer available. So you actually, this, depending on what you're looking at, the type of content you're looking at, the filtered search will actually vary. But what we're going to use mostly today will be the quick search. So let me go back to views. And what I'm going to go over first is search operators. And search operators are the same for Tableau Server and TableauOnline. And really, they just assist you in refining and filtering search results. So some of the common ones are, and they're actually going to appear sound a lot like logical functions in Tableau Desktop. The three most common you probably use are going to be and, or, and not. There's also a star, which is like a wildcard function. But just like logical functions Tableau, and really just searches for results that contain both the search item before and after it, or returns the results that match either the search terms before or after it, and not just excludes the search term that you put in the search box. So for example, like I see here, and by the way, these are all, or I'd say 90% of these views and these workbooks were created by other people. Luther Flagstead, Chimdi Nwosu, and Mark Bradburn. So and we'd have permission to use these. So I just want to give credit. These three at the top are, I believe, Luther Flagstead. So huge thank you for him allowing us to use these in our book and for demonstration purposes. Let me go ahead and, again, no slight to Luther, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say I don't want to see these. So I type in not, and I'm going to say not call center. And hit enter. Now you see the three views that were created by Luther no longer appearing. And then one more. Let's say we want to do or. Let's say or. Maybe I just want to see. I have HR and insurance. I'm only interested in HR or insurance dashboards. HR or insurance. Okay, and now it's refined it to just two views. This one is insurance one. You can see it says insurance demo. This one also is insurance. It says insurance demo. And these two are HR, and that's located in as a tag right here, and as a tag right here. Okay, so those are search operators. It can be very useful when you're trying to navigate a lot of content on a site. Again, if you don't have very much, you probably don't need these. Something that I love are search attributes. This is an option that allows you to enter specific attributes. And attributes are things like a title, like the title of a piece of content, the owner of a piece of content, maybe a project name, or even tags. And I'll go over tags. That'll be the last thing I go over. I really think tags are probably one of the most underutilized features on Server and TableauOnline. So as you enter, let's say, one of these attributes in, as a search attribute, let's say we enter title. Let me go back here again to my Explorer views. Let's find a title. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's do a workbook. There we go. And you see here, yeah, and here we've assigned credit to Luther and Mark and Chimdi down here. What you see is I've actually put the hashtag for real world fake data, RWFD, the community initiative, in here. And so what I'm going to say is I want to create a search attribute that when I put it in, it's going to actually limit the return search results on Tableau Server to just this attribute. And the attribute I'm going to select will be title, because I've got a lot of titles that have the real world fake data hashtag in there. So if I type in title, and then colon. Now here's the big thing: no space. Like this is actually the hardest part for me, because I just naturally want to create when I hit enter or hit the space key. Don't do that. Buck that thought, and just type in. In this case, we're going to say real world fake data, or the acronym RW. I'll spell it right. RWFD. and hit enter. And I have returned only that one. Let me see. Oh, only one that's in the title. Let me check here. What did I do? Maybe a hashtag? Huh. Let's see. Views, workbooks. Let me try this again. Title. RWFD. What I was expecting actually was, and I may have screwed this up, sorry, in real time. Let me try it with all views. Oh no. Okay. Real world fake. Let me just copy this here. There we go. Title. Oh, I have a space in there, sorry. Interesting. Well, what I was expecting my results was actually to receive all the real world fake data views back. And we're seeing here, I guess it's in the title of the view. Huh. Sorry. Let me go over one more because I don't like that. Didn't like that example. Let me say, when you go over these as well, let's go back to Explore and go to Workbooks. And let's do tags, because I was talking about tags. So I'll incorporate this. Tags are really just really helpful. If you're familiar with social media, like LinkedIn or Twitter, or even blogs, tags are used really frequently. And all they do is just keywords that help, that you attach to, in this case, it's going to be like a workbook, a view, a metric, or a data source. It allows you to essentially categorize and filter more efficiently. So some of my basic tips for tags before I use it as a search attribute is to really think about the tags that already exist, right? So maybe you want to go in and review over here. And I don't have a lot, but you can see I can review my existing tags on this filtered search. So that's one thing. The next thing is to actually make sure you use keywords. You're not trying to write a James Joyce novel. Third, try to keep your tags as short as possible, but also try to be as descriptive as possible. And fourth, check your spelling. It's going to be really important that you try to spell everything correctly. And then flip that on its head. One that I think is really helpful is to actually insert common misspellings as tags. So in this case, let's say I want to put one on here. And on this insurance demo, I'm going to go down to, so what I clicked on to create this tag is the ellipsis down here. Open it up. I'm going to click tag. I'm going to say, and one of the cool things now I just realized, I think this has come out in a more recent version. Before you need to put multiple words in, you didn't need to use an underscore or make one long continuous word out of multiple words. You can actually create spaces here, and you don't require quotations any longer. So I'm going to say Pat's. Oh, sorry. Caps lock is on. Pat's demo. Okay. Select that, and then I'll just say, I don't know, insurance. Okay, hit OK. And now if I hit Save Tags, I should now see those tags appearing as options here. Awesome. So I see insurance and Pat's demo. But now if I had a ton of these available, say, do I have a real world fake data one? No, I don't. HR, okay. What I can do here is I'm just going to go ahead and search. Let's say I have 2 insurance ones. I'm going to just make this an insurance one as well. Tag insurance. There it is. Already knows what I wanted. Okay. So now what I want to do, let's say I have a lot more dashboards. Actually, I have hundreds of dashboards, and I don't necessarily want to filter through them. If I know I've assigned tags, let's say the work of my team, which focuses on insurance, I can say, go up into this search up here, a quick search, and say tag, colon, I'm going to say, let's say insurance. And I returned only the things that I've assigned. And you can see here, insurance is a tag, insurance is a tag, and insurance is a tag. And what is used is the search attribute of tag and refine it to just what I want. So I think this is really, really important, especially as you have more and more content out there. You can, one of the cool things about it is that most people don't really use tags. So if you're using a tag and you're leveraging, let's say, a search attribute, most people in your organization probably will not be doing that. So you can kind of categorize things exactly how you want. Now you can also, people can go and change these around, delete them and add them in. But again, this is just a hugely underutilized feature that a lot of people just tend to not leverage. I think it's just due to a lack of awareness. So I think that's everything that I had, Brandi.
We had a really great question in the chat or in the Q&A. Are the search terms case sensitive?
Search terms are not case sensitive. So you're talking about up here? Like if I was to type
in the
in,
quick search.
So you know what's funny? I was doing this yesterday, and insurance, I think if I change this, it is, but the second word is not. Watch this. So lowercase. So it is here. All right, but let me do, and this, I was just practicing yesterday, so it's so odd. Okay, let me go back one. So I'm going to put in, say, I'm going to get 2 words. I'm going to tag this one as, say, HR, then put a space in here and say, rocks. There you go, for all the HR and all stuff there. Okay, but it's so uppercase HR, uppercase R for rocks. Save that. I'm going to create another search attribute. Once this saves, I'm going to type in up here, tag, colon, no space, HR, okay, and then lowercase R-O-C-K-S, exclamation mark. And it still pulls it in. Odd, right? Because I know that this R is uppercase here. Now let's go back and I'm going to make these HR here lowercase, and I don't think it's going to like it. But let's try it. HR. I don't know. I found that so interesting when I was playing with it. So is it case sensitive? Sometimes. I know that's not a great answer, but this is like kind of the testing that Brandi and I were performing when we were writing this and just figuring things out. We're like, oh, it's like the thing that you thought would happen doesn't always happen. And this is a great example where it's like, oh, that's odd. And it's just a peculiarity. Maybe it'll be fixed in an upcoming version, but it's just one of those things that had someone not mentioned it and who tried it out here, I would have been pretty shocked. But that's an awesome question because I had that same one yesterday. So I'm still learning stuff as I'm going through this.
Right. Yeah, that's the good thing about Tableau, always ongoing learning. All right, so that was all awesome. Does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to throw it in the chat or in the Q&A. We'll give it a couple of minutes while I get us prepped for the book giveaway. All right, let me fix one thing real quick. All right, so Pat, I'm going to steal your screen.
Absolutely.
All right, so Pat and I want to thank you all so much for listening and letting us kind of promote our book a little bit. We're really excited about it, and we hope that you guys got some good takeaways. If you found this session helpful, we really hope that you'll consider purchasing the book and leaving us a review. You can find it on Amazon or on the Pat website. We can put those links in the chat for you, but we're going to go ahead and give away 3 ebook copies. So I've got the attendee names in the list over here, and we're just going to give this wheel a spin. All right, so first up, attendee AC Sandra Soria. If you want to message the panelists in the chat and give us your email address, we'll reach out and get you that copy of the ebook. We've got 2 more. There we go, Dave Rathbun. You get the second copy. So same thing, send us your email, please. And last but not least, the cat's really excited if you can hear her, Matt Marker. So congratulations, guys, and thanks for joining us. And again, just send us the email in the chat. We'll follow up with you after the session today and on next steps on how to get your copy. I'll stop sharing.
Congrats, everyone. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, please do. So, all right, we'll pass it back to Tim and Joey.
Thank you so much, y'all. I think some of those tips y'all showed are terribly underutilized. So I'm super excited that there's a resource out there for folks to go to. And obviously, thanks again for sharing for sure. So I know next up, we want to talk about Tableau Conference a little bit. Joey, well, I can share my screen actually. Let's do this. I'll share. And do I want to share this one here? Here it is. All right. So just someone confirm that you can see my Tableau server or Tableau conference screen.
We can see it.
Perfect. All right. So what I will do is first we talk about registration, times, that sort of thing. But I want to encourage Pat, Jared, Joey, and Brandi, of course, as well. I'd love to kind of hear everyone's kind of feedback on conference. Your perspective, what you found beneficial, what you liked, what you didn't like, that sort of thing. But to kind of start us off, conference is next week, the 9th through the 11th. As I mentioned earlier, it is virtual again. Go and register, it's free. At this point, you can sign in and build your schedule. And I should have signed in before I shared my screen. Let's see here. Okay, perfect. It's already got me logged in. To do that, you can go to episodes and your broadcast schedule, or all episodes if you prefer. So that's out there. These are just some of the ones that I've already kind of set or scheduled to watch. A lot of great content out there. Several different tracks. It'd be impossible for me to go through some of the things I'm excited about. There's quite a few different quite a few great sessions out there. What I will throw out is that the one thing I absolutely suggest you tune in for is Devs on Stage, or in the virtual world, it's Devs at Desks. So that is Wednesday. Let me check the schedule since it's right here in front of me. I think it's one of the keynotes. Shoot. There it is. Devs on Stage. They're still calling it that, even though it's virtual. November 11th at 11 a.m. Definitely want to tune in for that one. For those of you that haven't seen or attended before, that is essentially kind of a preview of all the new Tableau features and functions that are coming out in the coming months and year. So that is a must watch. Of course, Iron Viz is always a fun event to attend. If you're not familiar with that, that is, a data viz competition. They get 20 minutes time to build a dashboard. That is on the 10th. So just a couple of things I wanted to point out quickly. I also want to bring the group in, Joey, Brandi, Pat, or Jared. Any of your thoughts on conference? Some of the things you're excited about?
I can start. So I've actually never been to an in-person conference, and everyone's really disappointed to have it virtual again, but I do think it's great, the virtual component of that, like everyone can join. Cost is not a barrier to anyone, so that's really awesome. My favorite episodes were speed tipping. Words are hard, but yeah, speed tipping is a great session.
Yeah, that's mine too. So much information in such a short period of time. I think who was it last year? Lorna Brown and I can't remember. Was it Jeffrey Schaefer? I think it was the two of them.
I think so.
Yeah. And Tim, you're 100% right. Iron Viz is just kind of, even though you're watching it, when you're watching it live, it's totally different, right? Like in Vegas, there's 15,000 people around, but even my hands were sweating last year when I was watching them go through it. And I think it was even recorded previously. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so, I think the more you get steeped in the Tableau community, the more you have connection with people. And I almost felt torn too between at least two individuals. And I was like, oh man, can they co-win again? How's this going to work?
Yeah, that was, and what was that, 2019? That was pretty wild, the dual win. But yeah, I love the speed tips as well. And that's the first event that pulled up for the speed tips is Lorna, Heidi, and Ann Jackson. So definitely recommend that one. One of the other things I kind of want to throw out there for those that are attending, the big value I find in conference, because so many of these are recorded and then later shared on YouTube, the kind of irreplaceable aspect of conference is the face-to-face chats, right? The impromptu conversations in the hallways, these sort of things. So if you ever get a chance to attend a brain date or even host one yourselves, I would strongly recommend or encourage that you do that. You can find those here, and hopefully this lets me log in. Fingers crossed. Of course not. You can get to the brain date section by just going to where did I go to? Tableau Conference, and then scrolling about halfway down, there'll be brain dates here. In a nutshell, it's a group conversation, 5, 6, 7 people, somewhere in that range, chatting about a specific topic. So whatever the topic of the brain date meeting is, you get a ton of value out of those, and those are things that are not recorded. Those things, there are things that are not available later. So strongly recommend taking advantage of those when possible. New this year, they're also doing some group conversations on Slack. So if you have Slack installed, or if you want to install it for the conference, you can access that here as well, getting involved in kind of the channel discussions or anything like that.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and put a link in here in the chat for everyone, but Simon Beaumont posted a really great Twitter thread not too long ago about how to make the most out of a virtual conference this year. And so I thought it'd be a great one to share. So be sure and, take a look at this, share it with your leaders, or if you are a leader, maybe implement some of these ideas amongst your team to give them a great Tableau conference experience.
Absolutely. Anything else anyone wants to add about conference before we kind of wrap up for the day?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I hope that that next year we are able to meet in person.
Yeah, and I'd just add, in reference to that thread from Simon, I think one of the downsides for the virtual is that, like, I made it a point to, like, get with my leadership and let them know, hey, I want my team to have these days. I want them to have these days to absorb conference, and they were all for it. And I've been sending out communications for a few weeks now, just letting all of our stakeholders know, hey, for these 3 days, we're trying to absorb this conference. So if you've got anything that's a priority, let's try to get it done before then. But I'm still getting sort of hints that throughout those days, we might be pulled out for other things. So it's just the virtual aspect still kind of, you can't fully invest your time in it because you might be dragged away for some other things, which we're still here to support the business, but then we can't fully take the time to get the most out of it. I mean, I know that they're all recorded, so we can still go back and do it after the fact, but like the brain dates, I think those are the most important and beneficial things coming out of it. And so a lot of people might miss those because of the virtual aspect.
Absolutely, agreed. So a lot of great sessions out there. Strongly encourage you to Jared's point, try blocking some time on your calendar so you can dedicate a little bit of a focus on paying attention to the sessions or being present in the brain date. A ton of value there. I can speak for myself when I say Tableau Conference, especially some of the in-person ones, I felt like, catapulted my career forward quite a bit. So it's an amazing thing to take advantage of. And strongly encourage you to do whatever you can to attend. Right. So if there are no other thoughts on conference, we can switch screens real quick, or maybe just drag this over here. We will wrap up for the day. We'll finish up with an open forum. If anyone has questions for any of our presentations, anyone's looking for a job or hiring, we always like to put that opportunity out there for people to kind of speak up. I know Daniel, I'll throw it out there for you. Daniel with Salesforce, I believe, is looking for a Tableau developer. So he posted his LinkedIn information in the chat. So go ahead and take a look at that if you're interested in joining that team. Joey, do you have anything you wanted to put out here?
No, I was just going to mention, Daniel said in the chat that he's looking for a Tableau developer. Also, Daniel, I'm not sure if you're a member of the North Texas Tableau user group, but if you request to become a member, we'll go ahead and accept it today. And you can always post your job there as well.
Yeah, I think I remember him being in that group. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, just feel free to post your job there, and hopefully you get a response. Yeah, and I didn't know if you know, Daniel, I see you're still on. I didn't know if you wanted to go ahead and make an announcement a little bit.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, if you'd like, we can switch it over so you can kind of talk with the group if you prefer to do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Joey, since I'm sharing my screen, do you want to click the allow to talk for him?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Daniel, go for it. Oh, let me, yep, there you
There we go. Okay, sorry, I was like, how do I talk? Yeah, big fan of you guys. Met you guys back, I think, where I was trying to hook up with your group back in 2019.
Yeah, conference, right?
Right. So I've been to several conferences, New Orleans, Vegas, Austin, and then the almost conference that was last year. But yeah, so I'm a senior manager with Salesforce within our business technology group, and I oversee the Tableau platform team within that group. And we have a role opening for a Tableau developer. And what I want to also specify is, like, I don't want like a pure just visualization person. I want somebody that can actually like dive in with some SQL, do some data analytics, do some, maybe some Tableau prep to be able to like build their own data sets. We get a lot of people that can do vises, but then they can't do SQL.
Mhm.
So kind of looking for a unicorn, not necessarily a unicorn. A unicorn would be somebody that can do like ETL tools, visualization, and Python and HTML5. I'm not looking for that magic combination, but I am trying to fill this position. They're going to repost the description. We just met with the recruiters today, so it'll be on Work. We go through Workday, but I'll post it on LinkedIn as well, and I'll tag this group. And yeah, just let me know, and you guys can DM me on my LinkedIn profile. I think that's probably best than my Salesforce email.
Sure. Got it. Excellent. Thanks, Daniel. So before we wrap up today, I'll kind of open it up to the floor. Any last comments, thoughts? Anyone want to sneak anything in before we wrap it up?
I would just like to thank everyone for presenting today. Tim, talking about the features of some of the more recent releases. Jared, thank you for allowing us to spotlight, some of your work. And then of course, Brandi and Pat, thank you for sharing, the details about your book. Regarding the server, I don't think organizations do a good enough job educating their users on how to use the server. So I definitely do feel as if that book could really benefit, most organizations. So I appreciate you guys. I'll take a look at it. Hopefully I can get myself an e-copy. Another thing I'd like to say is I think we all sort of have that itch to meet in person again. So like I said, we are planning to have an event Thursday, November 18th from 5 to 7. We're marketing as a DFW Tug happy hour networking event. So, be on the lookout for that invite. And if you guys can make it, we'd love to see you guys.
Absolutely. All right. So with that, we can wrap it up. Again, thanks, Pat. Thanks, Jared. Thank you, Brandi. And we will hope to see you guys next 2 weeks from now, right? On the 18th.
Yep.
Right. Thanks, guys. Have a great
Thanks,
day,
everyone.
great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.